Namaste. Doing a tape here on volunteers, chapter 1 of my book, Full Moon Messages from the Pleiadians. I have 9 chapters altogether. And this, I'm just giving you little bites of the some of the things the chapter talks about. You can get my book, Full Moon Messages from the Pleiadians. Just put that in the subject field of Amazon, on Amazon.com, and it will come up. It's a Kindle book. And the artwork done by Endre Balogh is something else. I mean, look at this. He's a award-winning photographer, digital creator. Created Aim. Aim is my soul twin brother from the higher councils of the Pleiadian star system, which is at the center of our, Vega galaxy for kind of like a more spiritual government, you could say. In the higher worlds, they do not encourage competition in any way, shape, or form. And oftentimes, Lord Ashtar has called it the Mutual Admiration Society. I was introduced to Lord Ashtar. This is Sister Tuella's book. The only book that I know of that gets specific about who he is. More like the son of Jesus Christ, you could say. He is in charge of many of the galactic Universal Confederation projects that are going on with billions of spaceships. Some of them are envelopes of energy, as he says, that kind of move around, not as physical. As things go up in dimensions, third dimension here, okay, very flesh, very physical, very three-dimensional, okay. As you get into the fourth dimension, it's a holding area. And I won't discuss that, because I discussed this in other videos that I've done. Then you get the fifth and the sixth dimension. They go all the way up to the 12. 12 is the sacred number. So we got 12 calendar months, 12 disciples of Jesus Christ. You have the 12 tribes of Israel. You have 12 astrological signs, and it goes on and on. 12 notes in the whole musical scale of the alphabet. So the number 12 comes up quite a bit. But the volunteers, until you get all your lessons learned and balanced, then you can get into the 7th dimension. So many of the volunteers do not come from the 7th to the 12th dimensions unless they have a special assignment. Usually the avatars, the direct descendants of the I Am Presence, like Jesus Christ, Lord Krishna, Lord Buddha, all of these, they're called avatars, a direct descendant. They are normally from between the 9th and the 12th dimension, so they come from way above to balance out the karma and create more order or dharma, to reestablish dharma, balance in life. When it gets too out of balance, then someone comes to help humanity get back into balance. The volunteers from the 5th and the 6th dimension, the reason why they're called volunteers is because they didn't have to come back to planet Earth, reincarnate back here. So they volunteered. Once you move beyond the 4th, you no longer have to loop back and reincarnate here on planet Earth anymore. You've learned most of your lessons here. It's not that you're perfect. Volunteers are not perfect. They have left their light bodies and abilities back in storage in the 5th and 6th dimension, depending on where they come from. Now, 80% of the volunteers are from the 5th dimension, only 20% from the 6th. And so that's kind of a generalization of, what volunteers are. They were the original core group, what Ashtar calls the eagle commanders and commandresses, flying high in the sky, kind of like the hawks that I see sometimes out my apartment window, the vultures and the hawks, red-tailed hawks, flying and soaring and circling around. That is the depiction of UFO activity above that monitors this planet pretty intimately. And then there's some people that say, well, why aren't they, helping out in all the wars that are going on in Israel and Ukraine and Haiti's falling apart, and there's, I don't know how many issues going on in Africa, for like 14 problems there. There's problems everywhere. It's not just these countries, but there's a lot of violence in the world. And one of the reasons why they don't is because they have to honor free will, unless the planet is really in trouble. Nuclear war, they will not allow nuclear war. So we don't have to worry about that. If any country tries to use nuclear weapons, even satellites in space with laser beams of nuclear, they will shut that down. So that's part of their mission. They decided after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, World War II, that they would stop this altogether and not allow free will clause to get in the way of that. Excuse me. So we don't have to worry about nuclear war. The volunteers, the original group, 144,000 was the original core group. Approximately around 6 to 7 million years ago, it started. I was part of that core group, and so we've gone through hundreds of lifetimes of suffering and trying to help this planet try to create balance. That people are turning more inward and trying to simply get off the wheel of karma here, because you just keep looping back and looping back if you don't pay attention at all to your meditation. I've been meditating for 45 years, every day, twice a day, so I'm pretty serious about it. If you want to learn meditation, I teach inner grace meditation. So we are here to, in one way or another, with holistic health or with some healing modalities, with some way of helping humanity have less stress, less karma, and feeling more joy inside. That's the basic premise behind it. We only have a two-strand DNA. The DNA has been manipulated by other extraterrestrial races that are not as benevolent as the higher realms. There's not that many of them left. Maybe we got like 20% bad, 80% good. So right now, if you think there's fighting going on here, well, there's fighting going on up there, as above, so below. They're trying to clean things up and set themselves up, and they have been really since the 1980s. The first, I go over this with the one of my videos on Lord Ashtar, Bashar, and the Zeta Reticuli, so you can listen to that and get more specific about when these different dates came along, when we're supposed to have UFO contact at some point. Basically, we have two strands of DNA I was talking about. The normal strand of DNA should be 12. Up to the 6th dimension. Then when you get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, way up, they start even expanding that, so it gets expanded to 24 strands, 12 on each side. So that number 12 comes up again. And that allows them to have holographic experiences big time. I mean, they can just manifest things just with a thought. Manifest a child just like that. Yeah. Not have to go through 9 months of waiting for that. And manifest a lot of things. Their full potential is alive. We are very dormant here. I think psychologists say maybe at the most 10% we use of our brain, our neurophysiology. So the volunteers, getting back to the volunteers are here to help bring more light onto the planet. That core group of 144,000, I think there's probably about 50% of them are here in a flesh body. The other 50% are on the other side working on with the Intergalactic Galactic Universal Confederation to try and monitor this planet so that it doesn't get too far out of control. We weren't supposed to be here. Like, well, aren't they doing anything? Well, we were supposed to be long gone by the early 1980s. But so they've made certain adjustments with their own consciousness and the technology. The Earth didn't go through the axis shift, and we were supposed to go through 3 nights of darkness, and a lot of things they've made adjustments for. So we actually have been given another opportunity. The great I Am Presence is compassionate, trying to give us another opportunity, wake up another day to try and get it correct here and have a balanced relationship with the laws of nature here. But because on that 2 strands of DNA, it's very hard to fulfill knowledge in that way and the kind of desires that we want to. So a lot of the light workers, there's 7 million light workers on the planet, volunteers, but a flood of them came after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like after World War II, to add to this program. So this program is very vast right now. There are billions of ships involved, and it looks like the date that they're giving for now, because they've given dates in the past and it just hadn't come to fruition. I cover that in my video on Lord Ashtar, Bashar, and Zeta Reticuli. excuse me, different authors and all kinds of things that books you can read and so forth, so on. Nutritionally, make sure you're getting enough nutrition. This is Andrew Lessman. Andrew Lessman is the founder of ProCaps. Handsome young gentleman who can speak 2 languages. He speaks French fluently. He's married to a girl that's from France. And he has been creating high quality vitamin and mineral supplementation. I don't believe in all of his products. 80% of them I do. But I would be considered to be a volunteer from the 6th dimension. The difference between the 5th volunteers for the 5th and the 6th is the 5th dimension, they're more concerned with knowledge and education. Okay, they're not as humanitarian. As you get into the 6th dimension, your heart opens up a bit more and you're moving quickly towards God consciousness in the 7th dimension, which is basking in the golden light of God. I mean, it's not an identifiable God. It's more the formless, great I am presence, the light, the golden white light. That's pure bliss. And so that's what you would call heaven, in most religious traditions. But it's not the total end, even though they say you'll have eternal life. I think what they really mean is you'll be eternally in bliss from then on, unless you really want to ruin it for yourself. But most people just get lost in the bliss up there, most souls. So getting back to nutrition, having that nutritional value and strengthening the immune system, whenever he's got so many products that for everything. He's on HSN, Home Shopping Network, and you can Google on him, Andrew Lessman, and he's a great educator, just a wonderful soul that has taken his time to create high quality vitamin and mineral supplementation, because there's a lot of junk out there, okay? So it's in-house manufacturing. He calls it ProCaps. That's the name of the company. It's in Nevada, completely run on solar energy, not a kilowatt of electricity off the grid. And he's very disciplined and serious about creating products that actually work and not trying to get it outsourced and manufactured by somebody else and cutting up the quality of the product. So he did bring coenzyme Q10 to America about 42 years ago. So his coenzyme Q10 is really good for energy of the cells. Getting back to the strands, we're on 2 strands of DNA. We're going to go up probably after contact, which will be between 2024 and 2044, sometime in between the soonest at this point. It can change again. It's changed before. Could be around the late spring of 2026 into the beginning of 2027. And I will be doing a tape on that astrologically, why pinpointing those times and those dates. Soon I'll have it up, probably within the next few weeks. But that's the chapter 1 of my book, and I elaborate more, and you can get that. Volunteers who have volunteered here, they still can fall from grace, so they have free will. So it's not like it's a guarantee that they're not perfect. They still haven't gotten to the 7th dimension where they ascend as masters of the senses. So the senses are still there. As a matter of fact, even for me, I'm from the 6th dimension. I still get pulled. We're like walking sponges. Our bodies are kind of like jellyfish. Very, very, I hate to use that term. It might not sound sexy, but it's just that we're very, very refined in physiology, very sensitive, highly sensitive. And sometimes the volunteers feel like they're a child lost in Walmart at 5 years old, where you don't feel like you fit in sometimes into the current thinking of many of the topics that most humans talk about here. We don't really have that much of it. And we know that it's kind of like, kind of boring and not really something that can really help people. You see this in politics a lot. A lot of politicians make a lot of promises, but not much changes. So I think I'm going to end there with the volunteer programs. And just know that if you are a volunteer, I do give specific things in my book you could look for, and some of them are very creative with music, and you have certain measuring points to see if you're a volunteer, or you could ask a reputable psychic or something if you don't feel, let you know. Most likely, if you're even involved in spirituality a little bit, you're interested in philosophy, it's most likely you're a volunteer. So I think that's about it. You can just get my book and read more about volunteers. Namaste. Om Swaha.